Hello, hello, everyone. Thanks for dropping in. Here we are at Healing Body, Mind, and Soul podcast. I'm your host, Ariel Asher, and today I have the honor and privilege to speak with one of my dear longtime friends, actually. Our listeners may be interested to know. Stacy Sequoia Stafford. Now she usually puts an S, but I always knew her as Stacy. So she's giggling already behind the scenes. So I am just I'm doing that because I'm just sending out a big heart. Her and I have been on parallel artist journeys, healing journeys for a long time, and we met each other probably in the probably in the late 90s, and we were both artists in schools and forging our ways in the world. And what I love about her is that she's so heart-centered and just wears her heart right out on her sleeve, which always gave me permission to do the same, because my listeners and my clients all know that's how I roll. So it is just so awesome to be here today and talk about her new book and all that she is up to. I think you guys are going to be really surprised and really find a lot of value in what my dear friend Sequoia has to say.
Yay.
Yay.
Yum.
Welcome.
Oh, what a wonderful, you have me in tears. I'm really so sweetly touched by that introduction. I'm so grateful to, number one, reconnect with you, and number two, have an opportunity for us to share about the magic that we're creating in the world with our healing modalities. And as you mentioned, we've known each other for a long time, and our parallel paths include teaching. And I think that something I'm coming to in this new expression of myself and my life purpose is that to be a healer is also to be a teacher, and to be a teacher is to be a healer. And we're on the precipice.
And a leader. I mean, can we add leader?
Leader. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I just want to throw it in there, Sequoia, because I was asked last year to contribute to a book on leadership, and I'm like, what? I'm a healing artist, and I'm a this, and I went through my laundry list of titles, and and I know you get this. We hate the titles, right? We love them and we crave them, and as soon as we get them, we're like, that is not the whole thing, and in our desire to be holistic and complete. And so leader was one that I tried on last year a little bit, or really stepped into. And that just goes with teacher, even mother, right? I mean, it's all kind of coming together. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're great. It's actually what I write about in my book. And
awesome.
my book, it's hard.
My God, that makes me laugh so hard. Because it is what you think it is, lady.
It is. So, my book is about the, all of the things that none of us know about the sexual practice of enlightenment. I know it sounds crazy, but Tantra yoga practices are one of three really laser beam focused ways to enlighten yourself. And so, you could spend 10 years, sitting on top of a mountain, or you can just go have this really amazing tantric lovemaking practice that you take on every day of your life. And literally, you will start to see within a year that you have more consciousness, you have more awareness of your connection to your life purpose. It's magical. And how that relates to what you were saying about leadership is, I believe that there's 4 characteristics of a leader: responsibility, integrity, authenticity, and being up to something bigger than yourself. Now, I believe that that's an important thing for all of us to do
as humans.
Yeah, as humans, right? As
Right.
humans, but also in partnership with another person, whether you are in an open relationship, which I coach a lot of people in open relationships because that's a whole quagmire of stuff that they get into, or whether you're in a monogamous relationship or you're just dating on dating apps. You have to be the leader of your life, and you have to be a leader in the relationship. Then let's talk about being a healer. If you're going to be a healer, you always have to be the leader in the situation. You can't not be a leader and be a healer or be a teacher, because you stand,
right, because you're modeling.
Yeah,
you're modeling for the
yeah,
other person. You're mirroring for the other person.
Exactly.
And it's your responsibility to, you know,
hold that frequency, hold
yes,
that
and
template.
To be in integrity with it.
Exactly.
I love this conversation.
Oh my
already.
God.
Oh my
it's
God.
Good. So one of the things I find with a lot of the male clients that are partnered, so I work with men individually, I work with them with their partner, and I work with women. I also work with the LGBTQ plus. You know, gender fluidity is a very, it's coming, people. Like my daughter is 17, and like 1 out of 3 of her friends are gender fluid, or they, you know, they designate themselves as, you know, a they or a Z or a he.
Hey, can we hang out here a second?
Yeah.
This is I want to hang out here a second.
Sure.
I am a very progressive, open-minded person, and you know, I am super rainbow positive.
Yeah.
However, I was in a strange teaching position. I was holding circle at my house, and for the first time, somebody said to me, "Hey, I use this pronoun." And I was all, what? Do you know what I never thought of it, because really when I came up, I mean, in the 80s, Stacy, and you were there with me, right? So I felt very gender fluid, you know, and I was able to explore and everything, but I never felt the need to claim pronouns as my own. This is a new level of control, or I don't know what it is.
Identification.
And I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, because I want to give that to them if they want it. But it is, I have to say that it's taken me a moment to get my brain around it. And if that's dating myself, or if my mind isn't open enough, then crack it on open. I mean,
right. Well, it's not, so linguistically, we are having to change the context for pronouns and how to identify a person, whether or not a person actually needs to be identified. This whole thing is bringing me to an awareness of what it means to be autonomous, an autonomous sovereign being. And that
and sovereign being.
Yes.
It comes up in my practice all the time. Free and claim it. Yeah.
Claim it, but don't like put it in somebody else's face like
right.
It's their job. Right? Because it's not their job to own and be centered on your autonomy and your sovereignty. And if you start forcing others to listen to your sovereignty, then you're interjecting that into their space. So it's not about anybody else. It's about yourself. And, you know, we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. And so there's no way, unless everybody starts wearing name tags and buttons, will any of us be able to know what
I think we should enforce a dress code. you and me, we have to be the costume designers, because I know that we can come up with some tassels and some sparkles and some.
I know. I'm so sad that nobody's going to see me in
feathers.
My tassel.
I know. Yeah. For our listeners know we do this video chat, so we can see each other, but you all only get the behind the scenes audio version of our conversations.
And like like a true
Our
tantrika. Sequoia's wearing tassels.
backgrounds in theater and performance, we are going to have some awesome. Yes. So if who's in charge of the costumes? Because
Right. Right.
Yeah, until we start going around like that. I mean, but why does it matter?
Right. Well, here's the thing. So my daughter is 17, and she just told me the other day that one of her best friends is gay, a female gay. And and she's like, how could you not have known that? And I'm like, honey, I don't like to attach categories or, names to things when it's not my place. It's her place to say whether or not she's a lesbian, or she's queer, or she's gay, or, or she wants to be called a they instead of a she or a z.
Oh my God, what is they? That's just like craving therapy. Oh, really?
I was like, you and I are talking about costumes, right? And she's like, anybody could tell that she wears that she is, gay on.
Oh, because she knows the uniform.
Exactly. And I'm like, honey, I'm not part of the group. I don't know the uniform. I don't know. And I'm not going to pretend to know what other people's sexual orientation is. And here's the thing. I have been fluid with my sexual orientation since I was a little kid. I consider myself to be pansexual. I'm also of the free love model of relationship. I have partners that I have decided that I can, with my autonomy, choose how I express love for them. And obviously, it's not going to be something that's going to offend the other person, because I would check in with them. Hey, I'm feeling like I'd really love to give you a kiss today. And they get to say yes or no, because they're autonomous beings. They have a sovereignty to their life. In my field, in my world, that's how I relate to people. And they do the same for me. I'm like looking so good at you right now. I would really love to take you into a tantric lovemaking session, and then we can negotiate it. I'm not in a marriage. I'm not, I'm not in a monogamy kind of lifestyle anymore, because I found that it just doesn't work for me. And polyamory is a totally different thing, because I believe that it's actually put on top of the marriage model. And I think the marriage model is frankly broken. And it's a way of selling off your autonomy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you say that. Well, you know me, and you know a lot of my story. So we know each other personally. You know where I stand on this spectrum.
Right.
But it makes dating really hard, right? Because I'm like, that polyamory, I don't know about that. I don't understand that it doesn't compute to me. Right. And I'm a pretty good communicator. I can negotiate. Oh hell no. Or oh hell yes, if the spirit moves me,
Right.
I'm so glad that you said that, because putting more complication on top of broken, like what? That doesn't work anytime, anywhere.
Well, I mean, the whole idea that if we think about it, the marriage vows are saying you vow to sell me your right to choosing anything in your life on your own. You have to do it with me. But if the other person says that, but that doesn't do it, then what's going on with you? Like, okay, here's a good example. The men that I work with, a lot of them get to be 60 and they're in a marriage that they love. They love the person, but they're now friends. She has decided she doesn't want to have sex anymore, or she doesn't like the sex. And obviously this is coming from their perspective. So from the man's perspective,
from the male perspective,
from the man's perspective,
who knows what she's got going on? We don't know.
I know with the ones that I work with that are couples, but in regards to the ones that come to see me on their own, they basically are suffering. Now, it's really hard for a man when they desire sex. They have a integrity commitment to their partner that, you know, they've done those marriage vows, but then the wife no longer does sex of any kind. And what does he do when he obsesses about it every single day? And to the point where he is starting to show the signs of ED, erectile dysfunction. If he's showing the signs of erectile dysfunction, now he's panicking about it. His life is now, holy shit, I might lose my ability to actually have intercourse at some point really soon. I want to go celebrate my manhood, but I can't because my partner won't have sex with me. And it's not her fault. It's really not the woman's fault. It's not the man's fault, but it's a conundrum. So a lot of men come to me and say, I want to learn this tantric practice because I need to find my sexual sovereignty, right? And how do I now do that when I have this vow to my partner who I absolutely love? I'm not going anywhere. I'm not wanting to cheat on her, but I need to have another human being that witnesses me in an ecstasy state, that wants to know me that deeply. And so a lot of these men are really suffering because they're caught. And one of the things that I teach everyone is, look, you're an autonomous being, and you have to make sure that your life works for you. Your relationships work for you. And if you can't talk to your partner about what you need sexually, if you're afraid they're going to reject you, right, then you need to get coaching.
That's a huge problem.
That's
right.
huge.
It's a huge problem.
Really, the only problem they have is in talking about it. So I have a whole process in my book. It's a hard conversation process, and how to have a conversation with your partner about these hard topics. You know, there are men out there that love prostate massage, but do you know how many women even know how to give prostate massage, or who would want to? I mean, when I was married, oh my God, I didn't even like giving a blowjob. I didn't, but that was because I didn't understand. No, I didn't understand. Like now, like I could say so much. You know, it's like when in nutrition, I studied nutrition and a whole world started to reveal itself to me, where I started eating liver and I started eating heart and kidney. All of those things are really healthy for you, but we're raised in the American society to kind of have a benign experience of so many things. The analogy that I'm using is... I
think that it was just because our grandmas didn't want to say blowjob.
So I know, right? So I don't even use that term. You know, I use it with you and your audience.
This is the first conversation about blowjobs that has been on my podcast. I'm gonna have to put an age warning on this one now.
Oh,
it's gonna be great.
No, not really, because there are children out there. Okay.
Oh no, do we have to go here? Tell me.
We have to go
educate
here.
Me. Drop me a knowledge bomb, baby.
10 years old. We're talking 10-year-olds are addicted to porn. Now, we have ED, erectile dysfunction, is showing up in teenage boys.
What the heck is our world go?
Now, the reason...
And how is she, he, it, they dealing with that?
Well, no wonder they're gender fluid. They don't freaking understand. I mean, if anything, don't put an age warning on this, because we're talking about sacred sexuality. And I think that is the birthright of every single human being. And I wish parents would be able to talk to their kids about it, instead of going and seeing this false projection of what sex is, where they beat women with their bodies. Like they beat them with their, I'm going to use the term lingam. Lingam is a Sanskrit word for the men's genitalia, and it means wand of light, wand of light. And the woman's word is yoni, and that means sacred space. So if you just think of those two words and think about, instead of, you know, the other terms, the wand of light enters the sacred space and sheds consciousness, sheds light. That's healing. We could be each other's healers in relationships. We could own our autonomy and say, I really like it when your mouth is on my lingam. I really like it when your mouth is on my yoni. I love having this connection to you. You understand me more and more because you have this sacred practice where we can look into each other's eyes and know that there is nothing that we can't say to each other. That is sacred. That is the most purest
I
form
absolutely
of love.
have respect for this, for being able to be with intimate communication, right? This
Absolutely.
is great. And if it takes using other words, I mean, you know, that are not charged, right? They're not charged because they're unfamiliar words. We have so much shaming going on, you know, from a time where children, about the difference between boys and girls, and if you know, so yeah, you're right. It's no wonder they're confused. I understand why they're confused. I even understood why we were confused. And it, you know, and through the generations, the value systems and everything, it only gets weirder. But I just never thought I would have to be corrected on my pronouns.
Totally. But you know what? I think it's the next generation saying, we are going to own our autonomy and we can call ourselves whatever the hell we want to call ourselves. That's what they're saying. And you know what? Good for them. Absolutely good for them.
I totally am in agreement with it. I'm just confused by my own speech. You know, as a conversation before. I think it's so funny. I had a voice student who was 14, and she was a lovely young girl. And you know, and she was very shy and really working on some self-identity issues. I mean, I could tell. We didn't talk a lot. We really got down to business, and I was just doing. But she said to me one time, "Oh yeah, I'm bi," and I'm thinking. I look at her, right, and I'm like, okay, you know, I think maybe she was trying to test me to see if it would affect me or whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay, no problem with me. You should have seen me. She was pretty much dressed as me as a child, you know, you know, and she had a leather jacket on, and she's a very soft, beautiful, big heart, you know, but she was dressed all hard and punk rock on the outside, and I thought, hey, that's cool, all right. And she came in 2 weeks later, and she was wearing this flowing gown, and I'm all, hey, how's it going? What's changed? And she had met a football player.
Of course. That'll change things.
Yeah, I said, yeah, football players, I've been there, sisters. Football players change everything sometimes.
Oh my God.
But it was so funny to me to see her just like completely shift and change herself, you know. And of course, I mean, that's the beauty of fashion and the fun of it and everything. But she was so absolute in like, I'm this, and then, and you know, and I'm all, oh, so are you still bi? You know me, I'm curious. Give me all the dirt, right? And she's all, oh no, I don't think so. That was just a phase. But literally, it was like 2 weeks. You know.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Is like, you know, be careful, guys. Don't get it as a tattoo that you're bi or that you're, you know, a Z or anything like that, because you're gonna change your mind. You're discovering. Why don't we just let people discover who they are? Why don't we celebrate that and go, woo, yeah, absolutely. Like, we're all masculine and feminine energy anyway. I mean, that's, so, you know, that is actually the lesson that we learn in Tantra Yoga. First, Tantra Yoga, you do the practice for yourself internally, where you start to be able to weave together your masculine side and your feminine side. You do that within yourself first, and then you can weave your masculine and feminine with the partner. And once you actually take on this practice from an autonomous place, from sovereignty, you can actually start to get how selling off your autonomy really has no integrity. It has no integrity. Like, it doesn't work. See, I talk about integrity as workability, not morality. It just doesn't work. Because once I say, okay, I won't, you get to decide what kind of sex I have, then I become a depressed, sad person when I don't get the sex that I want or need. I might need sex as a person, like, or intimacy, or I teach about sacred sexual practices. So when I talk about sex, I actually use sex as an, what is that when you make a word out of letters? Anyway, I know I'm
acronym.
Yeah. Okay. So
sounds
sex,
like
the next. Yeah. So sex, sacred, sacred experiences of ecstasy. Acronym. Thank you very much. I figured it out. So the acronym Sacred Experiences of Ecstasy is what I teach. And the reason for this kind of practice is for me to get to a point where I can say what it is that gives me pleasure in my life. If it includes having an orgasm from someone suckling on my breast, then that's actually what's pleasure for me. And guess what, people? There are no head humans. Not the president of the United States, not the, the leader of the UN, not anybody over in China. No head humans here. You are your head human. This goes back to your point. You are the leader of your life. You get to choose. You know what? When someone, kisses my thumb, my right one, not my left, just my right, that actually is the most pleasurable spot in my body. Nobody gets to say, that's stupid, because it's your body. It's your experience of pleasure. And so what I do in my work is I help people to own what their pleasure is and learn how to communicate it to their partners. And that's really the key to my book.
Super juicy, super awesome.
It is juicy, actually.
And it's not hard to get. It's hard.
It isn't.
Can you tell us how we can get our hands on your books,
Yes.
Sequoia?
Absolutely. It's very easy, actually. It's hardbook.com. It's hardbook.com.
Very good. It's hardbook.com.
Very easy.
Super great. Super great. I'm so sure that our listeners, if you had one tip to leave our listeners with, if they are suffering from any sort of intimacy, communication issues, or sexuality, identity issues, anything of this nature, what is the tip that you would give them?
So the main tip I would give them is to put in your calendar at least 2 to 3 times a week an intimacy date with yourself or your partner. And that, what I mean by an intimacy date is sit and cuddle if that's all you're comfortable doing. Sit in eye gaze, which you and I know from being theater teachers, right? When you can sit and just gaze into another person's eyes, set a timer for 5 minutes and just eye gaze and see how comfortable it is. If it's not comfortable, then do it more often, to be honest. Those things that we're not comfortable with, you want to start having the experience of being the kind of person who does what's uncomfortable. Why? Because growth in life happens in those spaces of the uncomfortable. And when you don't have the ability to do that on your own, get support. Find a Tantra teacher, find a sex and intimacy coach, find someone. If it's not me, then find someone. Reach out to me. If I'm not your girl, then, let me know. I'll find someone and refer someone to you. But get help. Don't stay and resign yourself to living a life that is not pleasurable, because we are pleasure beings. Everything about us, we were born to have pleasure. Go and have it.
Awesome. So you heard it here first, people. Go and have pleasure. That is a direct order from our guest, Sequoia. And Ariel will strongly endorse those words. Okay, everybody, that's about enough time for today. I hope that if you're suffering, that you will reach out to either Sequoia. Don't forget that website, and everything is below in the show notes if you want to know a little bit more, or where you can get some resources. And if you're suffering, get some help, people. It's not that hard. If you need help, ask for it. All right, so that's all I have to preach about today. I hope that everybody has enjoyed this episode, and until next time, happy healing.